Love and marriage, love and marriage.
License-free edition.
It's an institute you can't disparage.
You can't sue us.
Ask the local gentry.
What's that?
And they will say it's elementary.
Ask the teacher.
Try,
going
and
into
you
it.
will only come.
It's an
To
illusion.
this
You forgot it. Try, and you will only come to
this conclusion. Love and marriage, love and Ouchcast.
And welcome.
Oh, man, that just brought me back.
To what?
To life or death?
Depends on how you look at it.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show. Squid Squad in the building.
Married with OUCHCAST.
Bam, 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 bam. Oh, boy. Oh, man. Okay. Shout out to the last episode when we talked about Power Rangers. And this is probably not going to air, but, in concession. But you know what's funny? I bet Alpha 5 called the police on Rangers that didn't belong on his property. You know what I'm saying? Like, SPD, come get him.
You should have said that for the last episode. Welcome to another episode of the OUCHCAST where we're all over the place because we are all over the place. And
That's who we are.
we're tired. We have lives.
Love me for me, dang it.
We have relationships. We have marriages. Well, 3 out of 4.
What kind of Facebook super music is this in the back?
Watch what happens when I... No, I'm just kidding.
This sounds like a presentation on timeshares.
It's called royalty free, okay?
I mean, but we got taste. There's a lot more music out there than that.
That's ignorant.
I feel like I'm going to show you a tropical island. Just for 15 grand a year, you can have your own spot.
Be like, for $20,000, you can have your part in this lovely timeshare. Come, stay the night, bring your family, enjoy the pleasantries of this very, very luxurious coastal home.
I love how Enrique has checked out. He's on his tablet.
I'm actually looking up facts of marriage and stuff because, like statistics.
Damn.
Marriage
He's
statistics.
actually doing work on this show.
I am.
That's what we do.
Speaking of marriage, Georgie, how's it going? How's your family?
Family is doing great. And, like every marriage,
Ups and
there's
downs.
there's work that
work.
needs to be done because you can't just coast through it. You try and coast through a marriage, then you're going to have some problems.
Especially when the kids are involved.
Yes,
It's a lot
sir.
harder. What about you, Doyle?
Marriage is good. Life is great. It's
Yeah.
always been great, to be honest with you. It just, I don't know why people don't want to get married. It's crazy to me. It's just weird. My whole life changed when I got married in a good way. So
Yeah.
Ever since then, I've been happy.
Yeah.
I mean, I was happy before that, but
Enrique, how's your hand?
My hand's good.
Pamela Henderson.
I don't need certain things.
Enrique, stop.
That sounds disgusting,
it
man.
does sound disgusting.
That's really gross.
Well, then stop
Yeah.
doing it.
How are you so good at that?
That is the question, isn't it? How are you so good at that, Angel? Yikes.
Okay, I don't even
I have
know
a
what that
working theory.
was.
I think-
Is that
I
like a 52 Chevy? Like with
Angel
a bed?
has a very healthy fantasy life in which he indulges in order to, satisfy
Healthy,
his.
that's the word you're going to go with, huh?
Because most marriages most marriages tend to require moments of like self-reflection where you have to kind of step away into your fantasy world. That's what I understand. So
Self-attention?
That's what you understand?
no, I've never been married. I've had trouble having relationships.
No. Don't say it's trouble. It's just it happens. Like
I have
no relationship is perfect, but it's not, when it's a perfect match, it's not even then perfect. So
but anyways, I'm not. Yeah, I don't really have much to add other than that.
But you know what, though, you bring up a point. A lot of people are not getting married these days. At least that's the statistic that I'm hearing.
Wait, before we go, I mean, you're in a relationship. How are you, sir?
Oh,
Don't
we're
just skip
wonderful.
over. Yeah, there you go.
No, we're wonderful. That's why I'm like, there's not really much to talk about. Hi, babe, I love you.
Yeah, shout outs to significant others.
No, I mean, it's stressful with life in general. The kids getting older, needing things, trying to find time for each other. We haven't been on a date night for a while, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is, Actually, our 10th year anniversary is coming up in May.
Hey, you better get on it.
And no, we already have plans. We already
Okay,
told
good.
my mother-in-law to take care of the kids.
Gotcha.
So the kids are going to be over at their house, and we're going to go get matching tattoos, which is actually my first tattoo.
Interesting.
Yeah. So we're going to get matching tattoos, which is going to be like a honeybee, because that's kind of like what
So you
our
said
thing.
it's already your first tattoo, so you're gonna get another bee?
No, this is going to be my first tattoo, the bee.
Oh.
I have no tattoos on.
Are you
whatsoever.
getting the bee and she's getting the honeycomb?
No, we're both getting bees,
Okay.
matching bees.
Gotcha.
I like photorealistic bees.
Gotcha.
That's cool.
I was actually originally going to get like a 8-bit version of a bee, for like the video game in me. And then after that, I started seeing how they do. Have you seen those tattoos where they do like they look like patches? I thought that looked kind of cool. But then I'm like, no, I want a photorealistic to match, each other kind of thing. So,
So when what's the bee? The significance of the bee?
She should get a queen bee. You
she's
should get
my
a worker bee.
She's my honey. She's my honeybee.
I was gonna say because you guys want to be together.
Because we were meant to be.
I see that.
No, there's a band that we enjoy called The Head of the Heart, and they have a song called Honeybee, which basically is kind of like our song. So that's why we're getting the tattoos
One more.
as well.
To be or not to be?
Now you're. Oh, no, that doesn't work.
Can you be more ridiculous?
Yes.
Squad.
You guys need to behave.
Never.
Beehive.
Oh man.
Don't worry, be happy. But
Oh no, that's it. That's it. Close the door.
I wanted to kill it right there.
I think we know what this is about to be.
So no, yeah, life is great. The kids are getting older. I love my family. I love my wife. I love spending. The worst part is having to leave the house to go to work and then wait to come home. It
Yeah,
sucks.
I feel that.
Would you say you were berevved?
This whole episode's about bee puns, so just
You can go yourself. How about that?
just
And
want
it
you to
doesn't start
know
with
it's
B.
coming.
Better
It's coming.
leave it.
Put
That
your-
was below the belt.
Post your best bee puns in the Discord right now. Give us your
Look
best.
at Angel.
Are you
Angel,
on the
you know what?
Discord?
You got to learn to be
Yes, I
patient.
am.
BP.
You're a B plus player.
I'm gonna start beeping every B joke right now.
You're too slow. You're just gonna beep out the whole show. You know that beeper sucks because it doesn't really beep out people. We can still
Well,
hear things.
Yeah, but if I do this, talk. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Joke's on you.
Man, that hurts my head when you do that.
You can still hear me in your mic. So joke's on you, smart guy.
You're like, now you're just being petty.
Oh my God, Jesus Christ!
We're gonna be on you the whole show. That's what we're gonna do.
So we're all happily married, right? Except
Yes.
for Enrique, he's not happily married.
But you know what? That's good because we all have
Enrique
different.
It's okay, Enrique.
Enrique-
Be positive.
Have you ever been close to being married? Like have you ever thought
My longest relationship was 10 years, 11 years with Josie, and
Yeah.
and I mean we were practically married, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean we just never did. She didn't want to get
I
married.
mean, legally you were.
Yeah.
Common law, right?
Common law, yeah.
I guess legally, yeah. I mean, but we never went that route. I mean,
Actually,
I
in
can't-
California, common law is not a thing anymore.
No, I don't know that. I mean,
No.
we were
It
together
makes sense.
so we were together for a long time, and I mean, when we had all the hallmarks of a relationship. We lived together, we made decisions together, we had a kid together. But
Yeah.
anytime I brought up the marriage, she didn't want it. Which, I mean, what's it take? This is a depressing episode for me, guys. Thanks.
Sorry.
Because I'm
Dodge
like,
the bullet. kidding.
because because I mean I can only come up with two conclusions. One, she really wasn't a marrying type, or two, something was wrong with me. And the person she left me for 6 months after 6 months of cheating on me, she ended up marrying. So hey, must
So
have
it's
been
you.
me.
Doyle, before the missus, were you ever close to getting married to somebody else? Or did you ever think you'd get married to somebody else?
When I was like young, probably like 18, 19, I did end up getting engaged once. I've kind of known.
And George said no afterwards?
Of course he did.
Oh.
No, it was somebody that I had met when I was younger, and for me, I always wanted to be married. Sorry, but it was one of those things where, you know, like in order to get married, like you kind of have to have that mindset. Like in many ways, we're trying to find that person to be with for the rest of our lives, and unfortunately, like I did end up like having a change of heart, and the reason I had a change of heart was I kind of discovered other women. Wow. I had discovered, you know, like a world outside of like, you know, her and things, and I started to grow, and I got to the point where but you know, in all honesty, me not getting married at a young age was actually a bad thing, because it was very much I discovered all the wrong stuff.
Footnote: notice Enrique left the room. He doesn't want to talk about this marriage and relationships.
No comment.
He'll be back.
Jesus Christ.
You know what? George never talks this much. And right now,
Hey,
we
George.
came up with an awesome
George.
set of puns.
George,
and he's on them.
Be quiet.
We got him to do it.
So what? Okay.
But everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
Christina is amazing.
Yeah.
So
no, all those
everything happens
years
for a reason.
From the first time when I was gonna get married to when I actually ended up getting married, all that stuff and all my relationships were toxic and bad. Not toxic in the sense of like how people are toxic these days, but they just weren't loving. Like they weren't good relationships. They weren't bad. They didn't turn into drama or anything like that. They just, you know, like I was either like off in my own thing or like, you know, full of myself or whatever, trying to upgrade whatever, you know, whatever you want to call it. Or, you know, they were bad people.
No, yeah, I agree. I see my past relationships kind of the same way. I didn't really have many like steady girlfriends. I had a handful, and like the
literally,
I know, my handful, but I think my high school girlfriend was like the one that, like, you know, when you're a kid, you think that's the one for you, and I thought I'd be with her forever until we broke up like 4 years after the whole thing, and then I casually dated for a long time, and then I got with someone, which was a huge mistake that lasted for like a year or two. That was my ex-girlfriend. Then after that, I had to like say, no, I'm going back to my casual dating kind of way, and then I met Valerie, and I fell madly, deeply in love, and I was like, no, this is the one. So it kind of just happened really fast, and I would not take it back for anything. I mean, she probably would, but she'd probably run away if she could go back in time. Yeah, but me myself, I'm
Gotcha.
I'm blessed. Gotcha. You stuck. Georgie, what about you? You didn't answer the question. Any? Do you think you ever like?
Before. Not that you regret.
Before, was I ever close to being married?
Yeah. Or did you picture yourself with somebody else? Or, besides Jason? I mean,
like before, I didn't really. Like I always knew that eventually down the line I was gonna be married or wanted to be married, you know, but like I didn't give very much thought to it in any of the relationships that I was really in. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of that had to do with, because even though I felt that I wanted that at the time, or not at the time, but in my future, at the time I was like focused on all kinds of other stuff. I was like real selfish as far as the things within my own world. I was only focused on taking care of myself and not like really my partner.
But that's kind of natural. Like you're used to it, right?
And the thing is that
you have
end
really
up
bad
falling
habits after years. Yeah,
you end up falling into it and not noticing it.
Yeah.
And after a while, like, because for me, I would have relationships that I'd get into, but there would be so much time in between where I was single that coming out of the mindset of being single was a difficult part for me.
Yeah.
And so in that, like, a lot of the relationships that I had suffered because there was points where I wasn't being as attentive to my, girlfriend at the time
Oh.
that I needed to be. And it would cause probably like some drifting and stuff like that. And, all the problems that come after. But I mean, no, I hadn't ever been close to being married before I actually got married.
Yeah. Marriage.
When you say that, George, there's that verse in the Bible that says if you want to come after me, you have to deny yourself. And
you're going to come after me? No.
Okay, I thought you were going to go there.
Yeah, I thought you were going to be like, you're going to have to come after me with your full force. Like, whoa,
No, it's
Bible got dark there.
I think it's like a level of like philosophy that is projected, in that, and that whole deny yourself thing. Like, it is something that I think we've lost in today's culture, where people are so about themselves that they don't know how to deny themselves. They don't know how to have discipline.
I blame MTV.
Everybody is always about like me. It's me, myself, and I, right? And like, because of that, like, I think as a society we've developed into a bunch of like cater to me kind of people, and because of that, like, I think relationships hurt.
And now the
suffer.
mindset is you've got to do for me before I do for you.
Yeah, and it's a tit for tat, and that's not what real love is. Real love is selfless. It's a self-sacrificing. It's a denying yourself for somebody else, and I think that's where this goes into. That's the reason why like marriages are failing. And there's all these little elements that build into it. There's more than one reason why a marriage fails.
I have noticed that it's really it's rare now for couples to compromise. Mm-hmm. It's more, especially like when they don't want to make it work. I don't know, like I don't know. I think some of them should get therapy. Some of them just never belong together, and they're trying to force something that's not there.
Right.
But yeah, I've noticed most are not. They don't compromise. I've had friends that just won't compromise, either both of them, and they won't see each other. They won't put each other, like, see each other's perspective, and that causes a lot of friction.
So I was watching this YouTuber. I think her name is the handle is Not So Erudite, and
I'm sorry. What's the handle?
Not So Erudite. Erudite is
no.
The reference.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And she talks to a lot of people across the spectrum of relationships. Right now, the whole beta male and the whole what is the new term that the people use? Like a guy will come and say a woman has to be able to give everything in a relationship, and because a guy is bringing to the table money. She's talked to those
Alpha?
guys. No, you would say alpha, but no, that phrase is kind of going out of vogue.
Going their own way. That whole crap.
Dickheads?
Yeah, there's a lot of different aspects of it, but I mean, what I was getting at was that she one of the things that she talked about was that what's missing isn't the sacrifice aspect, but the what defining what equality means in a relationship. And so, as I understood it, she said that oftentimes, one person feels like they're giving more than the other, and when communication breaks down, that becomes like the driving force, and eventually that's what splits people apart. At least in her marriage counselor perspective. And so what happens is if you see things as self-sacrifice and you don't communicate, then at some point you become
Resentful.
That's the word. You become resentful. And so therefore, without communication, relationships end up breaking down. And that's just one of many different reasons why it happens. I know earlier off air we were talking about like the sexual needs of and within a relationship, and one of the things is that oftentimes I think Doyle said something along the lines of like, well, if you're the person sitting on the couch playing the video games, then yeah, you're not going to be desirable anymore. So there has to be a certain sense of respect and desirability built into the relationship too. I would think. I mean, again, speaking from no experience in that aspect of my life because I'm single, so.
Yeah, but like you said, you had a 10-year relationship.
That counts.
Yeah, I mean, just
because you didn't have the rings or the paper that said you were married, you essentially had a marriage.
And you still know like what you want as a human being and the things that you're into, and I think your perspective on a lot like it factors into like who you are and what you want and who you will eventually end up with one day. So I mean, it's not to say that like for any of the Squid Squad out there who think like, oh, because I'm single, like I don't know anything, or you know, if you just because you don't have the experience doesn't mean you can't have an opinion on.
I'll
the
tell you
process.
right now. For like when I was younger, I thought I'm gonna get married young, bro. I have a lot of kids, and then when that relationship failed, and I had like I said, what was it, like 10 years of bachelorhood, you know?
Mm-hmm.
At that point, I really was like, I'm not going to have kids. I'm not. And then my mindset changed. And I was like, I was not thinking family. I was not thinking none of that. I became very selfish.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like, you know, I could just do whatever I wanted. I felt very independent and just would go day by day. So doing the transition from being a single guy for so long to being a family man was really hard for me.
Sure.
I mean, and at times, you know, it's still like that primordial essence of being single is still back there. So there it goes. I don't know if it's just me, but sometimes
no, that's everyone. That is a very common thing for men once we get married. That like all of a sudden, like it's like you miss your yesteryears. But like right before you
I don't miss them at all.
No, well, I mean, like there's like a summoning of the nostalgia of like, oh yeah, remember when I used to do this, and you know, like it kind of comes back into the back of your brain, right? Mm. And so a lot of the things that you were once so adamantly happy about leaving behind become the things that kind of chase you in your new role as a father, as a husband, as a significant other. And so like it's weird. It's this weird like temptation that only comes for like married men. It's the craziest thing. You know, when I was single, I didn't have the same like I guess weird temptations, you know. As a single guy, I'd kind of be like nonchalant, like wouldn't think about girls, whatever, yada yada yada. And then like once I got married, there were these moments where I would be like, why am I even remembering this stuff? You know what I mean? Like, and it wasn't even that like I was happy to be thinking about it or to be remembering it, but it would be like stuff would pop into my head that I hadn't even thought of in years. And so it's like, where did that come from? Because when I was single, I never thought about these things, but now all of a sudden I'm married and that popped into my head. Like it's definitely a thing.
Yeah.
And you know, like I think, you know, it doesn't have to be, it's not always just about marriage, right? It's about like, you know, if you're in a committed relationship and then that ex-girlfriend comes back and then all of a sudden it's like, why did she come back out of nowhere, you know, after like 5 years, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I'm happy. Oh, you want to mess up my family? You know, like it's just, there's things out there that it
Doe has
pertains
been watching
to.
soap operas a little too much.
So I have to ask you guys.
Some of that stuff like actually happens in real life. Like I was telling you earlier, there was an incident where I'm in the elevator at the Kaiser with my wife, and then my ex-girlfriend gets on the freaking elevator. It's like, oh, crap. Such an awkward, like, you know.
It sounds like something written for the movies, right? Like,
exactly.
What would you do if you're like in an elevator and you're with your wife, and then your ex happens to show up in that elevator, and you guys have to take that long 2-minute or 1 minute like ride up or down on the elevator? That sounds like a nightmare, but really made for funny humor.
Did your wife know that was your ex?
Well, when I first got there, here's the jacked up part is that when I got there, I was taking my daughter up to the pediatrics, and my ex just had a baby as well. And so what ended up happening is that as I get in line for the elevator, I see her get in line all the way in the back, and we see each other. And so it's kind of like the, oh, hey. And then we end up going up, and then I tell my wife when she gets, because she was parking the car, I had to get off and, you know, because we were running late for the appointment. And so I tell her, hey, you know, I don't want anything to be awkward or weird, but my ex is here as well. And so that information's out there, but she didn't realize who she was when she got into the elevator.
Oh, wow.
And then afterwards, it was just like, I don't know. I don't like to dwell on it.
Ooh, that is definitely awkward. That is super awkward.
Popcorn.
You know what? In those moments, you just kind of got to call it out for what it is to make it even more awkward, because if you don't own it, it just gets even worse.
Yeah.
And then there's all this speculation. But, like, if you're the one who's like, hey, well, this is awkward. My ex and my wife are here. Well, that's what it is. Then, like, both people are like, ha, okay, good. We, you know, like, it is what it is, you know.
So I was going to ask a bit ago, but each of you guys being married, like, when did you know it was the right time? Like, what, like, from the buildup of the relationship to the moment where, like, this is a person I want to be married with? Like, what qualities of your life you needed to change? Like, because beforehand you're just dating. Now you're going to be married, and it entails all this new change. When did you know it was the right time to do that?
Well,
when she bought you a mattress.
No, that's private, sir. Don't pull the curtain back too much.
Wait, where were you sleeping at before you had the mattress?
I had a bed.
He had a shitty bed.
I had a really okay. I had a box spring and a mattress, right? And
that was older than him.
it was not that.
I'm joking.
But one of the things that my wife did was she just realized, like, oh, you totally need like a bed frame, and like, no one should like sleep on the floor. And not that I was on the floor, but she was just like
spring and mattress.
She just, in her mind, she said, "Let me support you by buying you this," right? And for me, the moment where I really knew I was going to marry her, it was twofold. So in my past relationship, when I broke up with my ex, there was a moment where I got the flu really bad. Like, I was dying sick.
Voodoo.
And I was throwing up real bad, and I needed like soup and crackers. And I'm like, man, like I don't like asking for help. This is something that I'm just really bad at. I don't like asking for help. Right. And on this particular day, I felt so horrible. I was like, hey, will you do me a favor? Can you like bring me some soup and crackers?
Was that to Christina or your ex?
To my ex.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I asked her to, like bring me some soup and crackers if she could. And her response was so cold and like, no, you're a grown man. Like, you can get your own soup and crackers, which is true. But it's one of those like where if I go out, like I don't feel good enough to go out. Like I was asking for help. And she's like, no, right? So that really set off with me. And me and my ex eventually broke up.
That was a deal breaker.
Yeah, it was definitely a deal. I stayed for a little while after that because, I was hoping that her character would evolve a little bit. But it was in a moment where my appendix was about to burst. And I had to go into emergency surgery. And basically from that moment of realizing all the things that I didn't want in a person,
she told you, you're an adult, you can drive yourself to the hospital.
No, I woke up from my surgery and she was there. Like without asking her, she supported me in a way that like I needed, but I never told her I needed. And so just seeing that was everything that I wanted in a person, someone who was kind, who had that heart, someone who I don't want to say matched the yin to my yang, but like, they supported me and built me up when I needed it, when I tried not to be a person who ever needs it. So it was a validating moment for like our relationship, because I knew, for me at least, in that moment that she was somebody I probably wanted to be with for a long term.
That's sweet.
There's moments in relationships, if you listen for them, where the thing that they do, it could be such a small little thing, but it'll define the way you see that person for the rest of the time that you're with them.
Yeah.
And that moment that you described where the person said, no, you can get your own thing. It just colored the rest of the rest of the relationship until it ended. And so that the next relationship you have is highlighted by the lack
difference.
of that. Yeah, by the difference.
Yeah.
Which therefore makes you closer to making that decision that this is a person I want to be with.
Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, that's good to know. I mean, I'm trying to learn here.
The moment I knew that my ex was not meant for me was, first of all, her morality was really twisted. Not to, she was a very devout Catholic, and she on everything, which really bugged her that I wasn't. But her morality was like so twisted, and I don't know if I'm like, dude, for such a religious person, that's just so strange. But I guess the nail in the coffin for me was we were having a conversation, and she just, like, we were talking about just history and stuff, and she blurted out, I don't believe in dinosaurs.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, wait, you don't believe in dinosaurs? And she was like, yeah. And she was dead serious. She was like, they're not in the Bible. They didn't exist.
Wow.
And I was like,
what about the fossils we
They
found?
were called dragons.
For the record, that's not completely accurate on a scientific.
I'm just reporting what she said.
for the Squid Squad out there, there is reference to creatures in the Bible
Yeah.
that scientifically could be considered dinosaurs.
Yep.
Behemoth.
I know, like
Yeah,
in the story
yeah,
of
exactly,
Job, he
exactly.
talks about in the story of Job. There's reference to like some type of people debate whether he's referring to like some elephant but clearly it's a big.
But an elephant doesn't
Yeah,
have a tail like a cedar tree.
Ken
Exactly, yeah.
Ken Ham, I believe his name is a Christian, but he's also a scientist. Like he was a science teacher and taught science for years, and so all of his apologetics is based around science and proving the facts around science. And so he comes from a very pragmatic, practical, like thinking, logical type of like explanation of scripture, and he definitely goes into like some of the stuff that people have a lot of questions. So just I'm for truth and against error. So
It was just she was just a shitty person. Let's be honest. Everything about her was shitty. Like she her scruples were really messed up, and it which made me feel like she was such a hypocrite. You know, like everything she did was very hypocritic, and you know, lo and behold, I mean, technically she cheated on me, so that was kind of like the closure. But I was already checked out before that. That was just like, oh, that's my excuse. I'm out.
Yeah.
And then when I met my wife, it was completely opposite. She had such great morals. She was just a caring person. She did all these little things for everybody. She went out of her way to help others. And I mean, that's something that like she betters me, and I can communicate with her. I can be myself most of the time.
Right, yeah.
She was the first one who made me be able to be comfortable enough to talk about my mental health, which before that I wouldn't. I would just, eat it up. And
saying that what you're saying is finding somebody that has like matching principles that you have.
yeah, we have a lot in common, and I fell in love with everything. She's so smart. She is 100% my better half. She really is.
Yeah. Fun fact, not really that fun, but one of the 6 major factors of like relationships that end is not being able to find common ground. And you like just beautifully describe the fact that that's like a big concrete foundation for your relationship is common ground.
Yeah, we have a lot of common ground. We have a game plan with just about everything. I mean, we do things a little bit different. She's more gung ho and more driven in certain aspects that I am, but at the end of the day, we do find the common ground. We all agree on the same thing. The biggest one is, what do you not talk about between friends and family? Religion and politics, right? And ours are aligned almost perfectly. I mean, she's atheist, hardcore. I'm agnostic, but we do have the same common ground. None of our children got baptized because neither her nor I are considered Catholic, so we're okay with that. Yeah, we fought both our families, but hey, this is our family. We don't believe in the Catholic faith, at all. So
how much does like mutual interest play into relationships? So like, for example, like you can have people like people say opposites attract, but I mean I find that kind of to be odd. I don't know that that's. I mean, I imagine that doesn't always play out, does it?
So I got this weird theory behind this. I think women morph and mold to whatever men are like into.
But some men do too.
Yeah, some men do, but that's
I've had friends at one time all of a sudden they're hippies. The next time they're freaking gothic.
It's more of a modern thing that men conform to women because like the schematic where they're becoming more beta, and so the less that men are leaders, they're starting to follow, and so you're starting to see them follow after women, which is the whole concept of being a beta. Being a beta is you're the follower, you're the subservient one, as opposed to the concept is a leader or a sigma, where
that's the one. That's the phrase I was looking for earlier. Sigma. Yeah,
so,
thank you.
To be a sigma, you're not really trying to be an alpha, where you're over commandeering and like toxic masculinity, according to the feminist. But you're just kind of nonchalant. But you're also you don't need the validation from other people, so you don't chase after people, and you're not trying to.
I'm gonna disagree a little bit because I mean I do believe I think you're right on that, but men have chased after women since the beginning of time.
Okay.
Jewelry, we try to show them that we're more successful than we really are. We try to woo them in these dates, and we show, I mean, women do it too, but men show off this side of them that it's not really their true selves.
True.
It's that mask of that persona that like, look, this is the person that I am.
True.
You know, all of a sudden, if you find out that the girl likes French, oh, I speak French.
You know, it's funny. It's funny that you say that because beta males are not new. That is definitely not new. You know, since the caveman days, I'm sure, you know, that little caveman who was trying to get some, you know, from the hot cave girl or whatever, like it was that big caveman. It was like his leftovers. He'd push her to the side, and then that's where, you know, the weaker man would try to come in and try to make whatever, you know, aspect of mating that he could. But that's their form of survival. They have to survive and replicate. In like kind of like sneaking their way in. They can't commandeer and just go in and demand snoo.
So historically speaking, I mean that dynamic in relationships have there's so many examples of it. Like you can go like back in Japan, there was a tradition where men would from the village would sneak into the girl's room that they were attracted to and essentially start relations with them. I mean, I'm being kind with the word here, but you know what I mean.
Holy hell!
And so that was a thing. It was an accepted thing in that society. I mean, you find similar things in medieval times. The whole thing about courtly love was the whole idea that a man will chase any woman, including if they were married.
Did you say
courtly? Yeah, like
courtly love. Okay,
yeah.
I thought you said Courtney love. I'm like, what does this whole have to do with this? But go on.
So the idea was that you would chase. So chase has always been something that was part of the factor. This whole Sigma male perspective is a very new thing that, like, as far as like especially like the way relationships now are supposed to be, where there's more equality. At least the way we're defining them now is a much more newer concept, and it's a good thing. I think it's a necessity because we've elevated women to a position and that they should have always been in, you know, in terms of like society. Because for the longest time we had all of these rules and things that were meant specifically to keep women out of decision making in politics, out of the workforce. And so ultimately, as those avenues open, and obviously we're still in a controversial time where these things are still being fought over. But now that that's happening, obviously relationships now need to be redefined so that they fit that mold. And I mean, it's a good thing. I'm going to go on saying it's a good thing, but it's a very confusing thing as well. People are like trying to find out what's my position. So in the relationship, so you have all these new terms, you know, Sigma male, because beta male or alpha male is out of vogue because of the toxicity behind it.
Hold on a minute. But for back to your point, isn't it strange to you, first of all, that like women cannot have credit until like recently, until the 70s?
Yeah.
First of all, that's weird.
That's how it was.
Second of all, explain to me, because I don't know the term that much. For me, it's all the same shit. You know,
Sure.
But explain that Sigma bullshit.
So alpha and beta males we know what those are, right? I mean, alpha male is a toxic kind of like a person
Very
who
toxic.
takes charge.
Yeah,
and like, you know, the person in charge.
Wannabe new caveman. Yeah.
And then the beta male is the person who follows. So if you want to go,
Sigma is an alpha that's not toxic, right?
Well, Sigma is a person who has power, has control of their lives, but don't need anybody to and it's what you bring to that table.
Okay.
At least that's the sort of gist of it. But it all comes down to like the whole think of chimpanzees and think of monkeys and how you always have somebody in charge, and the rest of the guys, the rest of the male,
like a silverback.
Exactly.
Look at it like this: like if Steve Rogers, Captain America, walked his ass in here, he clearly is the alpha. He can do whatever the hell he wanted to any of one of us, but he doesn't impose
Are you
that
wishful
shit.
thinking there, George?
I'm just saying, but he doesn't impose it. He doesn't bully you and shit like that. Like
you can see it. You can see it very clearly.
Okay,
and you can see it very clearly in groups. Like go think back to middle school. Why was there always that one kid who everybody wanted to be around? I mean, it happens so naturally. You can document this like in school playgrounds and
George
obviously
just
through high
simplified
schools.
it.
And so, yeah.
Iron Man is your alpha because he imposes his power and prosperity on you,
Yeah.
and he commandeers everything. Steve Rogers, Captain America, is your Sigma, and Bruce Banner, not Hulk, is your beta.
That's funny because I was actually going to use the example Andrew Tate as an alpha, his brother Tristan as the beta, and the Sigma is Joe Rogan. That's what I was going to use.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah,
that would
pretty
match. That would match. I mean, in this hypothetical thing, for sure, 100%.
I'm dumbing it down.
I know. I agree with you though.
Okay.
It's a good way, really good way of putting it.
There's been like this influx of like all these videos of, you know, these gurus of health you know, like, oh, you got to be a 1%er, this high value male or whatever, right?
Yeah, I've
And
heard that term too.
And all these people are basically disclosing this information of kind of how society works, and then they're telling you how society works, but they're not telling you how to make society better. And one of the issues that I have with a lot of these shows, Red Pill and Andrew Tate and stuff like that, is all these guys are always single. They're trying to tell all these single men how to be the most masculine and domineering man and to get the results that you want. But they're all single, and then they all get caught up on
they're
these.
all trying to show you how to get multiple women,
and they're all idiots. I'm sorry.
But
like Andrew Tate, he doesn't read because it's stupid.
But even with them saying that they're trying to get multiple women, like anybody who's married will tell you this, that it is so much better to be married than it is to be single.
Fucking men.
And here's the thing. Only someone who doesn't have the information of what it feels like to be married. Why do you think all billionaires are married?
Correction, though.
Married to the right person.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I was going to say.
Okay.
When you're married to the right person. Because I have some friends that, like, you know.
Yeah, if you get married just to get married, or you get married with the wrong like reasoning in mind, some people are like, hey, I want to get married because she got a big booty. Like that's gonna go bad real fast because that booty's gonna,
because she's got money.
It's gonna flatten out. That's gonna dry up too.
Yep.
There's only so many things you can buy before you're like, I am tired of her. You know what I mean? Like it's the reality. And so there has to be like certain standards that you have to look at. One of the things that made me fall more in love with my wife is we were driving down the street and we saw this homeless man on the side of the road. And I'm a very empathetic person, but sometimes I have my struggles. Sometimes it's hard for me to, be kind to people that I don't know, right? And so she sees this man.
Sometimes to people that you do know.
Yes, especially Angel.
Yeah.
So behave, all right?
Oh, wow.
Anyway, so we see this guy on the side of the road, and then she's like, pull over. And I'm like, all right. So we pull over, and she jumps out the car, and she literally went to talk to this homeless guy. And she kicked off her shoes and gave him her shoes because he was walking barefooted. And seeing that is the type of humanity that I'm always preaching about and telling people, like, man, like, that is incredible. And I saw that in action. I saw that, like, yes, I'm the leader of my household, but I can take an example of that from my wife and say, I need to be better. And then now that is the example of what I need to lead in, and so it shows you things. And a good woman will strengthen a strong man. Like a strong woman does not make a strong man weak. She makes a strong man stronger.
Yep. I would not say that I'm the head of the house. I mean, financially, like an IRS, I have to fill out. I'm head of the house, but it's a team. It's a team thing.
Sure.
She's my rock. She's my strength. If she's not doing well, I crumble. I'm not strong enough to be able to take that responsibility on my own. I have to have that core, and she's my core. Mm-hmm. So that's how our relationship works. Let me ask you a question though. Is there a female version of an alpha, a beta, and a sigma?
Absolutely. I don't have examples off the top of my head, but there absolutely is. I think more women try to fall into the sigma category or kind of naturally fall into the sigma category, but they're, basically alpha females are a lot of the feminists. And it brings me to this whole thing with women, traditional versus non-traditional, because these are big things for, especially in today's culture, of like why a lot of men aren't getting married. We're in this battle of is she a traditional woman or is she a non-traditional woman? Now, I don't think that there's an issue with her being non-traditional, but a lot of the issues is non-traditional women want traditional men, and they want their cake and they want to eat it too. You can't post on OnlyFans and then expect the guy to treat you like a traditional woman. That's not fair.
Now I have in my head fucking lemon cake on my head, and I can't stop thinking about lemon cake.
Okay, so
Sorry.
That's the most random thing that I think we've ever come up with on this show. Lemon cake?
Lemon, I don't know. It's because
Are you taking cake home to you?
I think I am. I'm gonna have to go get some lemon cake.
So I've seen a lot of the videos that make a
OnlyFans?
lot of that make a lot of references to what Doyle was talking about, like where like the one percenters and all stuff. There's a big series of videos like that, particularly group of people who are espousing that, and what
That's
they often do is,
it is for me.
Here's where I think is
It's
happening.
so toxic.
Well, here's what I think is happening. I think what's happening is it's the push and pull.
It's pushback.
Well, it's the push and pull of society. We went through this long period where it was very okay for males to say, we're the head of the household, and then never defining what a woman's position was in our life. Mm-hmm. And then so now we went through this phase, of like hot girl summer and bad bitches and that sort of phraseology, which now goes way, way farther to the right. So now everyone's trying to sort of find the middle again. And so people are having these discussions, and while they're good, it's good to have discussions about it. I think that you fall danger to those more toxic philosophies. And you're right, there is some toxicity there. I agree with you 100% on that. But again, I just think I'm all for just the discussions that people are having about it, because people are trying to find out where they stand in it. Because I like what Doyle said, like he knows he's the head of his household, but a strong woman's going to make you stronger. But then you ask a woman, what are you in that household? And that's an interesting discussion, because honestly, I would hope that would be the answer. But you hear a lot of different answers from different people, because there's really no agreed upon terms right now for that. Isn't, no. And that's kind of where the confusion comes, because we all rely on terms, even though we're fighting against them, because you can easily cancel people because of terms. The fact is, we need them. We need terms in order to understand the world, because that's how we talk about things.
Which brings me to a question, though. With all that said and done, it sounds like marriage is still very core to our beings, right? Mm-hmm. But then why aren't people getting married as much as they used to?
That's a good question.
Because today's society is all about selfishness.
So there's that.
That's a good point.
There's that, the selfish stuff, and then once again, it's the non-traditional versus traditional. Mm. More men will identify as traditional. They want a traditional valued woman to get married with. Mm-hmm. So that's a low body count. That's and body count just means how many people.
I thought like serial killers. I'm like,
nope, that's another phrase that people use.
It is a phrase. It's a phrase that's used to describe how many people you slept with. Mm-hmm. So they want a low body count. So we use the phrase, we don't want a woman who's ran through, right? Like we don't want a woman who's been with like 45, 50 guys, right? You want a girl who's like less than 10. And that's preferable. If you meet two girls of equal attraction and you're like, okay, I like her and I like her, you're probably going to go after the one who slept with less men, because she just feels less dirty to your mind. And so that's a traditional thought process that a lot of men naturally just equate to. They just
that's kind of chauvinistic.
It is 100% chauvinistic, because a guy can have a high count because it says that he's desirable.
Yeah, he's a stud because he has more women.
No. But see, no one's ever justifying how many men a guy sleeps with. Women can equally say, hey, you've slept with less women.
The difference they try to say is that a guy can have emotionless sex with somebody, yet it's not the same for a woman. A woman gets emotionally invested and involved.
What's the saying?
And I'm not.
A woman needs a reason. A guy needs a place.
Yeah, that's a good phrasing. And so in that whole context of traditional versus non-traditional, more men are identifying as traditional, and more modern women are identifying as non-traditional.
Right.
And so there's a huge conflict between the two, because it's when you say agreed upon terms, how are we ever going to come to terms when I'm traditional and I want my wife to stay at home and take care of our kids, but she's saying, no, I want to post on OnlyFans? Those are like
you keep bringing up the OnlyFans thing
because it matters.
Do you have an announcement?
No. It's something that is
the
like,
OUCHCAST doing an OnlyFans?
Not yet.
Okay.
Feet. we're selling
tentacles.
We're selling farts and feet.
Oh gosh.
Squid farts and feet in jars.
Oh god. Squid farts and feet. Squids have
not it. I'm not gonna be part of that.
I'm
Enrique,
using
we have to talk off the air.
I'm using OnlyFans because it is a huge representation of the new non-traditional woman.
Or Instagram with the influencers
Yeah,
and stuff.
it's just a more extreme.
No, I get it.
Of the thing.
I get it.
So, and here's the disconnect. The disconnect is the guy just doesn't want his girl to be out there for all these other guys. And what women need to understand about that is not to suppress who you are, but as men, we understand something. Inherently, you are advertising yourself to other single men, and that is attracting those single men. So no guy wants to be with a woman who's going to continuously put herself out there, like if she's single, because that means that is going to draw in other men, so that those men will try to get at that girl. And so no guy wants a bunch of dudes trying to get with his girlfriend. Yeah, it's going to happen. And naturally, we're supposed to be secure in ourselves and be able to handle it. But 50 dudes in a month because you're on the internet is not okay. And women have to understand, like, you want us to be balanced, but you got to be balanced as well. And that goes with the traditional, non-traditional. Non-traditional is in a sense saying, like, oh, I want a traditional man who still pays the bills, who still pays for everything on the first date, who still does all this. But at the same time, she has these non-traditional like applications to her life that are compromise. And so there's a huge disconnect in that.
Right now, I think because social media has made it so easy for women to put themselves on there and various like states of undress, that like some stuff like OnlyFans are just, I mean, we talk about it like so obliquely, but fact is a lot of people have them. Like there's girls who you wouldn't think have them
Yeah.
because it's so easy to do. I mean, before that it was the cam girls. Remember that stuff?
Yeah, that was big back in the days, man.
Yeah. And so what happens then is like when you're dating somebody, then you think like, how many people have been with this person. At least that's the idea. And so then you start to think, okay, well, maybe I don't want to compete with other people. I mean, I think maybe from like a what is it, the biological kind of imperative perspective, like guys don't necessarily want to compete. And so that when there's a girl who's putting themselves out there that much, there's a sense of competition there, and we just don't want to deal with it. Or maybe it's just like, you know what, like Doyle said, it's because they're dirty. I don't know. That seems to me a little
degrading.
Yeah. I mean, either way you look at it is degrading, though. When it comes down to
this is a conversation that it's like, damn, we wish I had a female cast member here.
I was
really wish we had a female
I was going to
cast
chime
member.
in for the females too, because I do have a unique perspective of something that I've seen.
Porn.
No.
Wow. Just say whatever comes to your mind, Angel, please.
Okay.
Is this your first time?
No.
So, to speak on women's behalf, just for a second, because there are a lot of traditional women out there who deal with non-traditional men. And if you're a non-traditional woman, it's fine that you define yourself by those terms, but you're probably going to want a non-traditional man. But here's a quick little tidbit, and then I'm going to get into the point for women. There's a guy who's an ex-porn star who met his wife on the set of porn. This famous guy, his name's Adam 22, right?
Never heard of him.
Okay, I didn't think you would. But the point is, even he said, like, I wouldn't want my wife to do porn. And he's an ex-porn star. And it's instilled in us. So like this is something inherently where he's like open to like having threesomes and being with other women and this and that. But there's something he said is a disconnect. Like he goes to swinger parties and does stuff like that, but he just doesn't want his wife doing porn because there's something about like once you put the images out there and the kind of attention it attracts. And so that, I don't know if that helps anybody out there who's listening to, to kind of put perspective on this whole non-traditional, traditional thing. But I do want to point this out from the women's perspective. I think a lot of men are weak these days. Men are supposed to be leaders. We're supposed to be the uplifters. We're supposed to be the strength that guides our families and moves forward, right? Like if the house is burning down, who's responsible for saving the family? 10 out of 10.
The family.
It's the dad. They're all going to look to the dad. Dad, what do we do? Everyone, it's instinctual that we go to the father first and we say, what do we do unless men are becoming weaker? And here's the aspect that I'm pointing out here. this is something that naturally there's a very common woman's fantasy. It is to be dominated. And I'm not talking about physically or sexually. That is a part of it in many cases, but it could be intellectually, it could be emotionally. A lot of women's fantasies revolve around some form of domination, and
I can't talk about that because I'm not a female, so I can't really.
I understand that, but
Yeah,
but this is not my point. This is not my perspective.
No. I get it. Go on. I'm
Yeah,
just pointing out. Like I'm trying to give the female voice because we don't have one.
This is from a female voice. That's why I'm sharing it. The woman said that the female fantasy is to be dominated emotionally, physically, sexually, whatever. It reverts back to domination, but domination is a form of leadership.
I love the Nation of Domination.
Wow, you had to turn it to that, huh? We give
Ouchimony 3. Hey.
and I'll link in the Discord that video of what I'm talking
that'd be
about.
kind of cool.
So people can go and see it. But the reason why I'm sharing it is because from my personal perspective, that lack of leadership, I see it all the time. I see women get fed up with guys and their lack of decision making and their lack of, strength in a sense. Like men complain more than they ever did. The more I'm seeing that men are like, oh, well, my feelings. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, like women are getting fed up with those kinds of men, and so they go from one guy to the next. And
I wouldn't know about that, man.
I'm not saying that this doesn't apply to everyone. This is not saying that men can't share their feelings, but there is a point in time where men have to stop. They have to man up, as it says. It's in the phrase. There is a level of.
Look, I see what you're saying, but I think it's a very antiquated way of thinking, and I don't think it's the cause. Let me point something out. Well, you don't have children, but you're a son. You're of some. You have a mother. Mm-hmm. When you were little, when you got hurt, you would go to your mom, right? Mm-hmm. Same thing with my kids. Mm-hmm. When they're hungry, when they're hurt, they go to their mom. They don't go to their dad. They go to their mom.
Do you know why?
When
mommy's a nurturer.
Mom is the nurturer. She's the one who's more compassionate.
So basically, what I'm trying to say is, and then when it comes to, it depends on the role in the family, what side you're going to go to.
So if someone breaks into the house, who do you think they're going to go to?
They're going to go to the male, because we're the stronger of the two. But what I'm trying to say is, I don't think it's a quote leader unquote of the house or the head of the house. I think it's just depending on the circumstance. See what I'm saying? Because in I don't know about your household or George or anyone else's, but in my household, it's equal. I 100% treat it as equal. My wife, she has a say so. I have a say so, and that's just the way that it goes.
But being a leader doesn't mean that the other person doesn't have a say so. It doesn't mean that both people don't play significant roles.
Yeah.
And see, this is where we're meandering around the point of what leadership is. Leadership is they're looking to you for that strength. If you were to ask your wife how she views you as a human being.
Oh no, I'm not asking her that. It would go something like this. And then in the background. So, no.
Okay, that's fair. But I think when you truly get down to the nitty gritty of when you're talking to people, you start to hear little hints of people of this this mindset. It's a normal process and it's a normal mindset. You can define the rules however you want to. You can balance out things however you choose to. But at the end of the day, it really does always boil down to a form of leadership because people want to be led. Why do you think women can never figure out what they want to eat? They want men to tell them what they want to eat. That is leadership. When a guy is so, and this is where the whole beta thing comes from. Hey, what do you want to eat? I don't know. What do you want to eat? I don't know. What do you want to eat? And she's like, oh my God, he's such a weak man. No, just pick something and eat. That's
pet peeve. Hold on. Pet peeve number 42. Here we go. Pet peeve number 42. And this is not in general to one woman, but it's pretty generic. It happens to a lot of them where, even my mom does this to me sometimes. I'll go somewhere what do you want to eat? I'm not that hungry. I'm just going to get this salad or something. And then I'm like, okay, well, I'm a go-to guy. I get a big meal. I'm a big guy. I get big stuff. And all of a sudden it's they're picking at my meal. It's why didn't you just order that for yourself?
Yes.
It's like it's uncanny, and it's not like I said. It's not,
No matter what you order.
no matter what you order,
Yeah.
it's like
Your
dude, I
food
ordered
looks better than theirs. Yeah, that's hilarious.
Pet peeve number 42.
It is a pet peeve of mine too.
Pet peeve number 42.
You know what it is? I'm so territorial about my fries.
Yeah.
And if my wife is like, "Hey, I don't want fries," and I get fries, and then I see her digging in my bag of fries, well, get your hand on my fries.
PP42.
Pet peeve 42, yeah, PP42. It's just a thing. It's like the funny part is, I mean, at least now I'm not. My appetite has diminished in the last like 6 years, so I do
Because
leave
you
a lot
haven't been
left
eating
over.
as much as you normally do.
I know that's probably what it is, because they're always picking up my food. No, my wife doesn't do it as much as other people. Like my sister used to do it to me all the time. My mom used to do it to me all the time. My exes, my ex best friend used to do it to me all the time. My wife once in a while, but I don't mind because it's like I said, my appetite's different now. But it's a thing that women do. I'm not hungry. I'm just gonna have this insert small meal here, and then they'll devour theirs, and then all of a sudden they have their hands in your food.
Like what
But you know what?
I've experienced was my wife will get her meal. She'll get like a decent little meal because obviously after the pregnancy she was,
Getting
used
her
to-
nutrition back, yeah.
And then what ends up happening is that she'll only eat a certain amount of the meal and then passes it over to me, knowing that I'm very like, no, we don't waste stuff.
Yeah, same here.
And then it's just like, dang.
And that's how we gain weight when we get married.
I totally am the heaviest that I've ever been in my life.
Yeah, marriage weight is a real thing.
It is a real thing. Dude.
But
And
you
then
know,
everybody starts walking up to you and be like, oh, you're enjoying the married life.
Hey, Pudgy.
Right?
It's part of
Rubbing your
nesting, isn't
belly.
it? It's part of nesting. Like when you're in a relationship, you nest.
Nesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true. That
We
is
just
that is
gotta
one of
walk
the theories.
one.
Yeah?
You're not out on the hunt. You're not out searching, right? And I mean, okay.
Primordial, but you're right.
Let's think of this way. What is a common sign people say that if a woman is cheating?
When they start working out?
They start working out. They start, or at least that they're not interested. They're activating their searching genes or whatever. I don't know. They start like
she
dressing
puts
up a
on
little
her
bit more.
FM dress.
Yeah. And I mean, it's true of guys too, to some degree. Like, I mean, guys will there will be signs that a guy is uninterested. That they're like preparing themselves for something
That's
else.
funny because my wife's like, oh, I need to lose the baby weight. I need to go back to the gym and blah, blah, blah. And then me, myself, like I just explained, I'm the heaviest I've been. I'm all like, oh, yeah, I need to go back to the gym too. And then she goes, I like you the way you are.
Of course, she says that.
That's how she keeps you home.
That's how she keeps you home.
There is something that's destroying a lot of relationships in general.
Instagram.
Insecurity.
Oh,
It's another eye.
it's another eye, not Instagram.
Insecurity is so bad for relationships. There are so many people out there who are like letting their insecurities like dictate like normal behavior, and it's starting to make people act super irrational. And even when have you ever been accused of doing something that you absolutely had nothing, like you were the furthest away from doing that?
1,000%.
And it is so frustrating that it actually creates the one thing that they're trying to avoid.
Yeah.
I don't want to be cheated on. I know you're cheating. And then eventually
Well, that
you get
never-
so tired of being accused of cheating that you go out and you find someone who's not doing that. And
But then I've known guys
That cheat.
that cheat, and then they're like, "Oh, that's why I cheated." It's like,
And-
dude, get the fuck out of here.
yeah, no, I get that. And those guys are pieces of crap. And I definitely, just cast those guys out. Those guys needs to be in the trash, the dumpsters where they belong. But,
Yep.
When I speak about better humanity, there's something that, there's a lot of guys out there who really need to work on themselves. And in many ways, I'm on the lady side on that aspect. There's a lot of things that we could do to be better men.
Yep.
This episode is brought to you by Better Men.
Someone needs to make
Not
that.
us. Not us.
Not us.
Not us.
So the evolutionary psychology is something that became pretty popular in the past 20 years. But I mean, recently people are debating against it. The idea that you can sort of explain a lot of natural tendencies and human nature based off of thousands of years of evolution.
Right.
And then there's a lot of things that make sense when you really break it down. But not everything is really that not everything really is that neatly
Cut and dry.
Yeah. Well, one of the perspectives they have is particularly with women is that in evolutionary psychology, it's explained why women are in the position in society that they are, where men are in their position, and so obviously a feminist perspective, they hate it. What does it have to do with relationships? What it is that Doyle made a lot of references to like men who are being, need to be man up and weakness. And then also right now he talked about insecurities, and insecurities, all of that is wrapped up together. If you don't respect the person you're with, then chances are you're not going to want to be with them anymore. And well, who don't you respect? People who whine, people who don't do the things that they're supposed to be doing. That's true of both men and females. Other things you don't respect is if they don't take care of themselves. Unless you both are like slobs and stuff, and then you're going to be fine that way. So when it comes down to it, I think. And I think this is probably the reason why I'm single. I mean, it's because
you're a slob.
I'm a slob. No, because I don't know how to. I've had a lot of trouble empathizing with in another relationship. I mean, I'm an empathetic person.
No, you are very empathetic. You are very empathetic.
But when it comes to
emphasis on the pathetic.
When it comes to including somebody into my life, it's been very difficult to do that. And one of those things is I don't want to appear weak before them. I don't want my decisions to be questioned. And therefore, it's difficult for me then to share that aspect. And so at the end of the day, it's like war games, like the best thermonuclear war, right? The best way to win is just not play at all.
Yeah, not play at all. Are you guys like me where it's like you guys there's certain thoughts and feelings you guys don't want to process with somebody else or don't want to share with other people?
Yes.
Okay.
That's exactly what I'm talking about right now. Exactly.
Right.
Because there's times when I don't want to process it. I don't want to talk about it. And, I'm just gotten so good at taking care of myself.
So I'm the opposite. I think those are the actual things that you need to share because you have to deny yourself. You don't want to feel that, but maybe she needs to. And so that helps her to have peace, to have that validation, to know that you love her. Willingness to emote is one of the things that attracts women in the first place. So when we stop emoting, there's a disconnect on their end because women feel our emotions. And so sometimes if we withheld our emotions, it makes them feel disconnected from us. And they know that the thing is, they feel that you're hiding something or that you're not sharing something.
Yeah.
They're intuitive like that. And because you're not sharing it, they know something's off. But
well, they know you.
Yeah,
they know you. When you're around somebody, you know that person, and especially when it's like someone that you're in a relationship with, they know when something's off about you. Yeah, that's very true.
It is one of those things that is difficult, but I think that it's healthy for us because, in a lot of times, the reason we don't want to share is because we will be held accountable. And that also leads into being a stronger man. Sometimes in order to be stronger, you have to be held accountable and be told, hey, you were wrong in this. You need to be better at that. And I think sometimes, I'm not saying you guys in your situations because I don't know personally, but I think
agree
in general.
In my situation. Like I said, I've been single for a long time. And so
it's hard to break those habits.
There's a lot of aspects that I need to do. Like I know that my communication needs to be way more improved.
Yeah, it's hard, and more power to you, dudes, for actually admitting it because it's hard. Like I said, I've been with my wife for 10 years, and it's still to this day I do take steps back sometimes, and I do, I am my own worst enemy, and especially with fucking shit in my head. But it's hard. It's something you always have to work with. No one's perfect. No one will ever be perfect. But
in all fairness,
you gotta just take it, the good, the bad. Take them both, and then
in
you
all
have
fairness,
the facts of life.
Ladies,
the facts of life.
If you can understand one thing about that, most men have been taught to not do that as we've grown up.
It's a society thing too.
Yeah, we compartmentalize and put stuff in a box, and that's how we are actually. That's why we're the leaders. Because if you send a man off to war, he needs to be able to compartmentalize that war and then come back home and still be a father, and that is what gives us the capability to lead. Where women have to emote, and so everything bleeds together and blends all into like one big blur, you know what I mean? And we're designed different for that. And so sometimes you go to work and you have to compartmentalize that day, that everything that you've experienced, and you have to come home and be a father and a husband and those things. And so when she's weak and she's looking for you to help her figure out her jumbled mess, and I'm not saying this is every woman and that you can't think this way. I'm not trying to be misogynistic. But you will find
you
that
aren't. I'm just kidding.
more traditional women they desire that. They desire the guy to be that and to need that and to do that for them. So, I mean...
One more point before we go. I've noticed that we're talking most about... we don't talk about the same gender marriages, like same-sex relationships. That's actually something else that I want to touch on. I mean, we're not familiar with that society, but I was going to say, I wonder if they go through the same issues as we do. Like if like a gay couple will have the same problems that a normal couple has when it comes to that kind of stuff. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, here's a very interesting perspective about the psychology. There's still a male and a female.
Oh, that's very true.
Yeah. They still, they
even if they're, two women or two men. Yeah, you're right.
You know what's hilarious? Growing up, I had a lesbian friend. Her name was Lindsay. I love Lindsay. Shout out Lindsay. And Lindsay me and her would like relate to each other because of our issues with women.
Yeah.
And she would go through the same stuff that I would go through. I remember one time we were laughing about like a girl not being able to pick what kind of food they wanted. And it was just like, it was the funniest thing. Like, can you just pick what you want to eat?
My brother's ex-wife, soon to be wife again, she used to drive me crazy. We used to go to the restaurant and like a sit-down restaurant. And she would see, like, let's say as an example, fish and chips on the menu. And she'd be like, oh, what does the fish and chips come with? And then, fried fish and some French fries. Oh, okay. Is there any way that I can substitute the French fries for a baked potato? Sure, man, we can do that. Okay. And instead of fish, could I get like chicken?
So the number 7?
Yeah. So she would change her whole meal. She would make, but the thing is, she would break it down. So she would be like asking about every ingredient and everything about it, and then, oh, I don't want that. I don't want this. I don't want that. And then the whole meal would go from fish and chips to like chicken and mashed potato. Then it would come out. She would take 2 nibbles of the potato, and then I'm full. I have no idea how anyone can keep up with that. Anyway, relationships.
Can't live with them.
Can't live with them.
Can't throw them away.
Can't live with them. No, yeah. For anybody out there who's going through the process of relationships, just understand and know that no one ever taught us how to date. No one ever taught us how to be a husband. No one ever taught us how to be a wife. And I don't know if you guys had...
I can be a wife, okay?
Yeah, you could. You already dressed like it.
That's between us.
If you're going through it, no one really teaches us these things. So as a society, we're all trying to figure these things out. We're all trying to learn. We're trying to find someone who's compatible and someone who's willing to compromise and work with us and be on our team. Angel said the operative word here is team. And so when you become a team...
There's no I in team.
But there is an M and an E.
Wow. See? That's...
See, that's a single part. That's a single part of me.
Vicky, beat him. Beat him hard.
Beat him into submission.
Beat him into submission. I was merely letting you know that there is an M and an E. I'm not saying that's what I believe.
And
George, just shut up and go, I love you, babe.
And I was also letting your wife know to hit you in your sleep and then fall and pretend like she sleep.
I'm like, oh, you were having another nightmare.
Why is my eye black?
You fell.
What you mean, black? No, just stick with it, guys. Like, find someone who you like really enjoy, who you dig, and
talk it out.
Work it out. Talk it out. Work it out.
Right? Words.
Work
Speak.
it out.
Talk.
Work it out.
George, talk.
Stop blaming each other.
Yeah. Let go.
Right?
Who cares about that thing that happened 10 years ago? You guys both make mistakes. Move on.
Forgiveness.
Yeah.
Forgiveness.
Because...
Not only for Catholics. Moving on.
No, yeah, like... I definitely am about the whole, like, not one of us is perfect, so just try to deal with the other person with as much grace as you can. And, I mean, as long as they're there, like, for you and making the effort, I feel that should go a long way in any considerations that you guys are going through. And, just... work on your communication, guys. That's exactly what I'm trying to do right now.
And he's not working out. Enrique?
Just a gigolo, and everywhere I go.
He said he's a gigolo.
Stop and stare. Pay for every dance, selling each romance.
This is the part where I mute his mic. Doyle?
I will say if you're single, there's hope out there. There's plenty of fish in the sea. If you are breaking up and going through a breakup, it'll be okay.
Stop looking at Enrique.
I did not look at Enrique and stop flexing on Enrique. All right, sir?
Ooh,
Gotta
jigga
get
ho,
Back
jigga
at your
ho.
flex.
We're going to jump you after this show.
I'm going to go get myself some candy. I'll be back.
And remember,
Don't make eye contact while eating a chocolate-covered banana.
exactly. Good night, everybody.